Oh, I got smiles. Andrew Dye here with Ray Zabel. Ray is our window, door, and specialist. He has been for many years at Bensonwood and Unity. How many years have you been doing this?
Oh, like 8.
Yeah, at least 8. So he's the guy who is responsible for installing the windows and doors in the shop, for tuning them, for troubleshooting them. He's our go-to door and window guy. And today Ray is going to show in this video some tips and techniques for adjusting doors and windows, because occasionally they might get out of alignment, and this is the kind of thing that can typically be done by a handy homeowner or by a local carpenter, right?
Correct.
All right, you want to start with the door or with the window?
I'm gonna start with the door.
All right, let's do it.
Okay. All right. So first, you're gonna see these are the adjustment tools. If you don't have them, this is like a 4mm Allen wrench. It's just an odd shaped one. Basically, a basic 4mm will work. I'm not exactly sure what this is, but if you have a 4mm Allen wrench set, you're going to have one of this size too.
Oh, so it's an Allen wrench, it's just a different size?
It's just a different size, yeah.
Okay.
And then there's this tool for adjusting the, what we call the mushroom heads on, which is the...
Is that a technical term?
That's the technical term. I don't think they really have it to pin.
Okay.
That goes into the receiver on the door. So, if you don't have any of these and you need them, you can contact us and I'll get a set out to you.
Cool.
Okay, so we'll start with that. And then let's take a look at this door.
All right.
Okay, so right now already, this door is dragging just a little bit on the bottom.
How can you tell?
You can hear the squeak, and then when you go to open it, it grabs a little bit.
Okay.
Okay? So if you notice that it's dragging a little bit on the bottom, you take this larger wrench and you go underneath the hinges. I adjust just usually these bottom two because the upper one is visible, so you want that one to kind of look good. And all you really need to do is just lift these up. So you do that by turning, because if you screw it in, what it is if you screw it in, it screws this screw in and it lifts the pin.
Okay,
So that's why it goes up if you screw it in.
Okay. So that ball comes in handy once you get to where you can work it.
That's right.
Okay.
Don't pay attention to what I'm...
We can edit this all.
Oh yeah, because this is going to take a minute. Okay.
So you did that in and it raised that a little bit?
Yeah, so I basically just screwed it like I'm screwing in, and what it does is it raises it.
Okay.
And because I just did the first one before I mess with the bottom one, I'm going to check and see if that works better. Hear that?
It's less. It feels like it's better. Yeah, it sounds like it's better.
That's all it needs. So then, now that I know that that's correct, I'll do the same thing on the bottom. And you're going to notice that it moves easier, and you want to keep doing that as it moves easy. Keep raising it up
until you get some tension.
Until it feels a little bit like you hitting tension.
Yeah.
And that's where you stop.
Okay.
Right there.
And you're saying you don't have to necessarily do the top.
You don't necessarily have to do the top because it's sitting on these two pins and it's pushing it up.
Okay.
So, and that way this stays flush and it looks good.
All right.
So you can see.
Nice.
Much better.
Yeah. So can you just go through that locking sequence again? Because that's something that's unusual for these doors.
Okay. So you lift up to engage the 3-point mechanism, and then you turn your thumb screw, and now it's locked.
Okay.
And if you want, you can look. You can see what happens. There's these points, and there's also one on the top. No, 2 on the top, sorry.
Okay. Are those the mushroom things you're talking about?
Yes.
Okay.
These are the mushroom pins, or the pins.
Yep.
And when you lift it up, you can watch what happens.
So that engages?
That engages it. And it also causes the lock to engage.
Okay.
But it's not locked until you hit this thumb turn.
Got it.
Now it's locked.
Excellent. All right.
Okay. All right. If you run into a situation where it's not locking, or if it's hitting and it's just not working very well, the thing is, take a pencil and you make marks right near the hinges on one side, the door.
So you're doing it all the way along?
Just in the 3 spots where the hinges are.
Just
And directly across on this side. Okay?
Just kind of flush with the edge of the door.
Right? Flush with the edge of the door. Yep.
All right.
So that way when you open it, you can see if the door is centered.
So you're
In the
looking at the
opening.
gap between the pencil line and the door frame?
Correct.
On each side, okay.
Correct. And that'll tell you where it's out of adjustment.
Because we want it centered
Because you
on
want the
frame.
door to be centered.
Okay.
Okay? So I make those marks, and then I can look and say, okay, the middle one needs to be adjusted either in or out.
That would pull the whole door,
Nope.
left or right?
No. It pulls only at these points. So, take the tool, and we'll just say for fun that this door needs to be pulled in this way.
Yeah. Kind of look that way actually from the pencil lines, but
Yeah. You can see this hole. That hole, there might be a little white cover on it. You can take that off, just pop it off, and hang on to it so you can put it back when you're done. But you just put your Allen wrench in that hole, and then just turn it in. And when you turn it in, you can see the door moves this way. If you spin it the opposite direction, you're screwing it out, the door wants to move that way.
okay.
Okay? But what you're looking for is to try and center it in that opening. Good. Still working. Good. Now, the thing that will throw people is they'll look at it sometimes and be like, okay, everything looks centered, or, you know, I can see that it's a little bit off, but it's not locking. Well, this could be the hinge that's out of adjustment. And if that's out of adjustment, it's not going to want to lock.
Okay.
So that's why you have to check all 3 and make sure they're all 3 centered.
And you tell that again by the pencil
By the
marks
pencil
that you made.
marks,
Okay.
yeah. Okay? So that's pretty basic. That's pretty simple. And there's not really much more to say other than that on
Okay.
that. The other issue that I've seen a lot is it looks centered, but it's still not locking. You're having trouble getting this handle to go up to engage the mechanisms. And that's where this comes in. What you'll have is these might be hitting on either this back piece here, you can see this here. Sometimes it'll hit this piece, or sometimes it'll hit in the front. And usually, what I will do is I will feel for it first. I'll put my finger here and I'll just kind of feel how close to the frame it is.
That pin.
Yes. And you can tell if it's there, if there's like just a hair between the frame and the pin, it's going to be hitting the backside.
Because the backside sticks out a little bit from the edge of the frame.
About out
Okay.
a little bit. If it's a big gap, you can feel it, and you'll know it's hitting the front. And then you can basically take the newer ones, like I was saying to you before. You can put an Allen wrench in, the same Allen wrench in here, and turn it. But this is an older style, so you need this tool. And if you look inside this tool, you'll see there's a little bump in there. You see it?
Kind of.
Okay, there's a little bump in there. And you can see there's a little dot in here.
And the bump lines up with the dot?
Yes.
Okay.
That bump, what it'll do is it'll go in and it'll engage with that dot. And then you can spin this in or out.
Okay.
And that way the door is still centered, but you move this so that it will work easy.
I see.
Actually, that works a lot easier.
And you're saying, so for the older doors, they would require that special tool, but for
Right.
the newer doors, it's an Allen wrench.
You can use this too, or you can use the Allen wrench.
Okay.
Both.
And I'm
Okay.
assuming people were able to see like what you meant by the mushroom head because it's kind of flanged out at the end.
Yes.
And that's how it's going to ideally engage in this piece here where it needs to kind of slide in, not too far in, not too far out.
Correct.
Okay, cool.
And you can see those points are all, there's one in the middle there, one on the side, and then
Yeah.
some down the
All over. That's hence the multi-point locking system, right?
Correct.
Okay, cool.
The other thing I can say about this, and this is pretty much really everything after this, is that this, if you can see it, it's not the same all the way around. Okay.
Yeah, there's a word
So,
for that. It's like a
concentric.
concentric,
Yes.
eccentric, something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So what you might see is usually we leave them in the middle.
And you could.
It's kind of a neutral position.
Okay.
But say that you might feel a little bit of a draft on the window, or coming through that crack. You can turn that so that if you turn it so that the dot, because that dot is always on the largest part. Okay, and so what that's going to do is this is now in a position where it's going to pull the door tighter
Because it's
against
sort
the
of
gaskets.
it's larger on this side, so that's going to
Correct.
push it toward the other side.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay, and you can do, and when you do that, you're changing the in and out of the mushroom head a little bit, but not enough to really affect
Right.
the. Okay,
And if that's the case, you can also spin it the other way.
I see.
And make
Make
it
it better.
the other way.
Yeah.
You can go either way with it.
Okay.
So that's all there really is to it.
Great.
And that pulled it in tighter.
All right, you make it seem very simple adjusting
It is
these doors.
simple.
Yeah, I was
It's simple, but it's not obvious.
right. Well, like trying to read the instructions. I've done that. I've been a little
Yeah.
intimidated by the instructions, but then to actually see you do it, it's like, oh, that's pretty straightforward.
That's really all there is to it. So any issues that you have with the door, because we adjust them in the shop, and then after the house is up on site, I go, or Matt will go and do a final walkthrough and readjust everything so that it's working. And sometimes they will go out of adjustment after we leave. But because we had already adjusted them that one time so they were working perfectly, it's a very minor adjustment that it would need.
Yeah.
So you shouldn't have to, most likely it won't be this.
Okay.
Most likely it'll just be
The hinges.
moving one of the hinges.
Right.
And when I say slight, I mean like a quarter to a half a turn.
Okay.
And that's usually all it would take.
That's helpful to know.
So, yeah. Unless it's got really cold and then really warm, and then that could cause you to have to adjust it maybe a little bit more, but overall, that's all there is to it.
Excellent. Thank you. So should we tackle the window also? I bet it's similar.
Windows are even easier.
Really? Okay.
Oh, simple.
All right. Let's.
So here we have a window, nice logic window. There's the adjustment points on this. I'm going to just go over and show you where the adjustment points are first.
Okay.
If you take this cap off, your lower hinge cap,
That just slides up. That's all you did.
that's all I did. It just slides up.
Okay.
Sometimes they're a little difficult to get up, and you kind of have to but they're pretty simple. And down inside of here, okay, if you go down in there, is a set screw. And that screw controls the up and down of the window sash.
Okay. Is there another one at the top, or you just need to deal
Nope,
with this
just
one at
the
the
bottom
bottom?
one. That's it.
Okay.
That's the only one. Okay. There's also an adjustment point on the bottom. On the inside, if you look, you can see a hole on that bottom.
Right.
And that hole in that bottom cover is for this. Go in here, and what that'll do is it'll control the left and right of the bottom of the window.
Okay.
Okay.
Let me guess. There's one at the top too for left and right.
There is. And it's right, this one's the hard one to see. It's inside of this little hole right up here.
What?
Okay? Yep.
Okay.
So let's take the screen out.
Take your word for it.
Maybe it'd be easier to go on the outside and see that one.
Okay. You demonstrating how to take the screens out too?
That's right.
All right.
It looks violent, but it's not.
Yeah. Okay.
If you want to come, I was gonna say, if you want to come around the outside,
Let me do that.
get a better look at it. So,
Oh
so
yeah.
the top is this little hole right here. There's the set screws right in there, and you take your tool and you get it in there, and then that'll control the left and right of the top.
Okay.
So that's the left and right of the bottom, left and right of the top, and the up and down.
Okay, and that's why it's such a funny shaped little tool, because with that short leg on it, it lets you
Yes.
get right in there.
Yes.
But if you don't
But
have that tool, you can.
You can use a regular Allen wrench and it should work too.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. that's pretty much the only things you need to do to adjust these windows. And what I do is I don't even use pencil marks on these. I just kind of close them and open them, and I listen for where it's hitting. And
so if it needs to go up or down, you're listening for hitting at the
if
bottom.
you hear it hitting in the front, you adjust this. Okay.
You pull it
here, but you're hearing it hit here.
Okay, then you want to pull the top
Pull
over.
the top there, and that'll make the whole window
Okay.
come up straight. If it's hitting up here, you adjust this bottom one.
Okay, to pull the bottom over.
Right, to
Yeah.
drop the top down a little bit. Sometimes you have to go either left or right to try and get it to these mushroom pins
Yep.
to line up into the receivers. Sometimes if you hear it dragging all across the bottom, you just go through the top here and raise the sash a little bit.
Okay, and when you go through the top, do you do it with the window open?
I do it
normally,
with
or
the window closed because
Yeah.
you don't have a whole lot of swing room here
Okay.
with it open.
Yeah.
The one thing I would caution, though, about that adjustment is that if you raise it too high, it won't tilt anymore.
It'll bind,
Because
is
it'll
it?
bind.
Okay.
So you have to be careful of that. Usually, I pretty much stick to just the left and right adjustments unless it's really dragging on the bottom.
Okay.
Okay? And that's pretty much all of this. There are a couple of things I should mention. Sometimes the mechanism will act a little odd, and if you work it a few times, sometimes it'll all of a sudden pop and then it works fine.
Huh.
It doesn't happen very often. I'm talking like 1 out of every 40 or 50 windows will do this.
Okay. I mean, if that happened to me, I would think about lubricating it with something. Do you ever recommend that? Or
Lubrication is always good.
like
yeah.
graphite or silicone? Or?
Usually we use like a silicone spray.
Okay.
And that usually does the trick. You should lube all of this stuff, all of the mechanisms on the doors and windows once a year.
And that, again, like silicone spray is...
A silicone spray, or if you have a lithium grease, you can use a little lithium grease.
Okay.
All you want to do is just keep everything so that it's moving easy. But really, they're not that difficult. Yeah, the other thing I think we should probably discuss that I get phone calls for a lot are people panicking that the window's falling out because they have engaged both the tilt and swing mechanisms at the same time.
Sounds like that would be good to cover. Should I
So,
come inside for that?
Come
Or?
on inside and we'll see if we can get this to do it.
All right.
Okay. So we're in the swing mode.
And that's with the handle horizontal, just
Okay,
for
there
the...
we go.
Whoa, you broke the window, Ray.
So occasionally, we'll start here, okay. Occasionally I've had clients have this happen.
That must be scary.
I've had one client swear that it was falling out
Yeah.
entirely, which it's not gonna do.
That's relieving.
Okay, so I'm just gonna let you know it's not gonna go anywhere, but
It looks pretty funky.
it's hard to figure out. So if you wanna come around this way, I'll show you how to fix that.
Good.
Okay? So what I do is I'll put my hand on the handle like this, my forearm against here, and you see this lever?
Yeah.
You pull the lever, don't pull it too far, just pull it so it's straight up and down,
Yeah.
and then move the top of the window in with your elbow, turn this down, and then it's back into the swing mode.
Ah.
Okay? So if that happens to you, because it does happen by accident on occasion, not very often, it's not easy to get it to do that.
Good.
Trying to do it again, and I can't seem to get it to do it. Oh, there we go. So
Don't try this at home.
right. So if this does happen, that's all you have to do is just, you can see how my arm is like
Yeah.
this. Just pull that down, swing that in, move the handle down, and you're safe.
Oh, that's like an advanced technique.
It is an advanced
Hopefully
technique. It's a little
people won't-
martial arts.
Right.
You know.
Hopefully people won't need to worry about that.
Yeah. Hopefully not. It doesn't happen very often.
Right.
It really doesn't. But I have had people on the phone going, "I'm holding it in and I'm freaking out." You know. So, yeah, that should do it.
Excellent. Well, this has been great. Anything else you can think of? I mean, seems like you covered all the basics.
That's basically all there is to it. There's not a whole lot. They can be fussy. They can be challenging, but that's very rare that they're that far out of whack.
Right.
Usually something major has to happen before that, you know.
Right.
That happens.
And if for some reason all of somebody's questions aren't answered by this video, then they should probably contact the project manager, and they
Contact the
can.
project manager, and they'll get a hold of me, and I may be calling you back.
Yeah.
And maybe some of you all, you've seen me before, and maybe some I'll see you again.
All right. Thanks a lot, Ray. This is great.
Great.
All right.
Thanks. Yeah, so these are the flex screens. You want to film this too, right?
Yeah, I'm filming it. Yeah.
Okay. So this is the flex screen. Don't be alarmed. That's what they do. And to install them, you give them a squeeze. You get the bottom inside between the gasket and the exterior. And then you get the top in between the gasket and the exterior and let go.
Voila.
And then it's in.
It's a beautiful thing.
And to take them out, it's pretty much the same thing. You just get your fingers in there and pull it up.
Nice.
So, yeah.
Yeah, these are a big improvement over what we used to have.
Oh, I love these screens.
Yeah.
Every other screen that we get now, I think, is horrible. That's the way to go.
And these are standard for the Logic windows, yeah?
Yeah.
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 Cool.
As a matter of fact, Wasco was using them just before they stopped producing Windows.
Uh-huh.
They started using those, and we were like, "Oh, these are amazing!" And then we switched to Logic, and Logic had the pins, and then all of a sudden they said, "Oh no, we're doing these
Right.
now." And we were like,
I
"Yes!"
saw the light.
So, yeah,
Cool. Alrighty, thanks.
yeah, no problem.